Welcome to the first episode of Makal's TV Dinners. I'm going to talk about a bunch of shows for episode 1, and I hope that you enjoy it. So without a further to-do, let's begin and talk about the worst show and then make our way up to the best show. I'll put spoiler warnings in the description time codes in on the screen. I actually won't do it. My little cousin, Antoniano, who... Why the fuck is that going off? Tony, you're gonna cut this part out, right? I'm gonna look like a real asshole if you don't. So yeah, 24 shows, and we'll start with the bad ones.
It's you.
So the first show we're going to talk about is a show that I like to call The Simpsons, or as I like to call it, Bad the Show. It's a show about a family, but you probably already know that. It was good for about 10 years, and now we've doubled that for how long it's been a bad show. I'd say the first 8 seasons are really the golden years, but I'll give it 10 years. I mean, 9 and 10, I own the DVDs. They're not horrible. 10 has the really funny episode where Bart has to become friends with Ralph. And it's funny because there's a leprechaun that tells him to burn things.
You've done grand, laddie. Now you know what you have to do. Burn the house down. Burn them all!
This show used to be great, honestly. The reason I decided to watch season 30 is because there's just a young version of myself that fucking adored the show and got so excited every birthday, every Christmas when he was given a new season on DVD. And I was just like, you know what, maybe I can watch this and it'll be like a 5 out of 10. This is still the same family, it's just been running too long and it got stale. It's not that it's a horrible show, it's just stale. And it was bad. It was way worse than I thought it was gonna be. And let me just say that, I guess this should have been a red flag right away. This is season 30 of The Simpsons. The only TV shows that have a season 30 are soap operas on their second year of airing, or comedies like The Simpsons that are just way past their prime and have been for a very long time. SNL! Or as our lovely president likes to call it, S&L. Was that him or was that one of his family members? It was someone connected to that. I didn't do my research. This first one was basically a retelling of the Well episode, except it wasn't funny and it didn't have the touch and ending that the original Well episode had. Bart has a near-death experience, something that they've also done in a bunch of the episodes, and he sees God, something that actually did happen in an older episode, or he lies about seeing God. And it's just this big thing where he tells a big lie and it gives everyone hope and then everyone finds out it's a lie. It's the Well episode again. But again, the Well episode was very nice, very well written, very touching. And it was a good arc for Bart. He's this prankster kid who had to face real consequences of his actions. It was a good episode. And this one just sucked fucking ass and didn't have a single good thing in it. Not a single good joke. Nothing. The next one, I think, was Marge and Homer compete on this couples game show. A lot of the comedy comes from Marge being really mean-spirited, and that's kind of out of character for her. It's not like Family Guy, again, where they just randomly decide, hey, Lois is going to be a huge bitch for this episode because it works for the story. But, give Family Guy some credit. It still makes me laugh sometimes. There's just nothing. Then there's this episode that tells 3 religious stories. Something else that they did an episode on. This one's a little different because it's more about individual people's experience with religion rather than just Bible stories retold. And even then, that old Bible story episode wasn't one of the great ones. It was okay. I found it to be really bad, especially Lisa's. And yeah, just another episode I didn't really care for. Then there's the Treehouse of Horror episode, and I watched like half of it. I don't care. I don't fucking care. I gave it a chance thinking, hey, maybe there'd be something, but, like, if you can't even make the Halloween episode entertaining, it's just not worth it, man. It's just not. The Halloween episode gives them everything to work with because they're allowed to break any rules that they want to, and it was just as bad as the other episodes. So yeah, this new season of The Simpsons was absolute ass.
It felt, when we were shooting it, truly, it feels like the best season ever, because we're all back together again, and...
Arrested Development recently came back, and I watched that little remix of Season 4 that they did, which was a really good idea, and honestly, I don't even hate Season 4, but the fucking difference between the final season of Season 4 and the opening scene of Season 5, with how fucking different Michael Cera looks, is one of the most glaring things I've ever noticed. It's not good for them to have these huge fucking gaps that they do. And yeah, Season 5 was bad. I'm sorry. Like, there was some parts that I liked. I kind of liked, Michael and George Michael's awkwardness throughout the first couple episodes. And I thought the scene where they were underwater, finally in that scuba gear, and they make peace with each other. I thought that was a very sweet scene. And then frickin' George Sr. coming down with the anchor. I don't know, something about that felt very Arrested Development to me. I felt like I was watching one of the old episodes, but most of it was bad. Lindsay's in like barely any of the season, and then halfway through is completely gone. I don't really care for any of the stuff with Buster. I don't really remember most of it either. Like, I don't remember what Lucille was doing this season. George Sr. is just kind of depressed and trying to commit suicide throughout the season. It's really funny, guys. I guess Job's act with Ben Stiller Magician was kind of funny, but I don't know, I picked these little parts out of the new season that I liked, and most of it I thought was horrible. It's also so funny because they're trying to promote it as if the Bloofs are back together in this season, and I know this isn't necessarily their fault. This is not a consistent job for any of the actors anymore, so none of them can guarantee they can make it to set on a certain time, but it's so obvious that they had like 4 or 3 of the actors at a time, because you'd have like scenes where the whole family's together, yeah, but Mike Golsera would not appear in the same shots as other characters, and maybe would not appear in other shots with the other characters, and it's clear that this like one scene, this character of like the family members all sitting around in the same room was shot on several different filming days. If it wasn't, then it was just extremely poorly shot, because it looks like shit I used to do with my videos when I couldn't get everyone over at the same time. It was a bad season. I mean, it's not well written, it wasn't very funny. Apparently it's just the first half of season 5. I'll watch the second half. I'm kind of curious to see how they're going to close this. I think it is time for Arrested Development to end, because the first 3 seasons are some of the most amazing seasons of television ever, and then the 4th season I don't even hate. A lot of people hate it. I was fine with it. And now this 5th one, I'm kind of with everyone. It was bad.
Who the hell are you? Why did you take us?
I'm Barry. I'm your kidnapper. And unfortunately, that's all I can say about that.
Ghosted! I have a cousin who recommends some, like, awesome TV shows to me, but then occasionally one slips in there that I don't understand at all. Normally they're comedies, and Ghosted is one of them. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever made, but I mean, it's just Ben. It's the Ben and Daryl show. It's Ben from Parks and Rec and Daryl from The Office. They have the exact same personalities, and now they're put in this weird supernatural ghost hunting show. I barely remember anything I saw. I was like super intoxicated, and I watched like half of the first season, and I did not hate it, really. It was fine for watching it intoxicated, and then another night I watched it sober. It's not very good. It's not the worst thing ever made. It's just kind of a cheap comedy that occasionally gets a laugh in, but yeah, it's not a very good show. I don't even have a lot to say about this one.
And you want to sort of know what that was all about, huh?
Yeah.
Look, the quick answer is yeah. I took a couple little nibbles. Okay, I'm just going to come right out and say it. My name is Carl, and I am a cannibal.
The Last Man on Earth. I talked about the show last year, and I talked about how much I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons. And then the 3rd one and the 4th one didn't really have anything to go off of. The first season was such an interesting concept because it was taking the idea of there being a very limited amount of people on Earth, and every single one of them hates the main character. And it's just this really uncomfortable thing because these people would by no means associate with Will Forte's character if they had other options. But they kind of have to stick together because there's not a lot of people left. And one of my favorite things about it is the characters don't forget. You have shows like American Dad where Stan or Roger or Francine are just terrible people, but by the end of the episode, all things are forgiven and it resets the next episode. And that works fine for that show, but in this show, the anger slowly builds up. The reason there's forgiveness at the end and then they reset the next episode is because they're kind of put in the situation where they feel like they have to. But the worse he gets and the more he does it, the less tolerable they become with him. And then the season finale is just so dark and so good, and I loved it so much. And then the second season's kind of the redemption arc. And it's done very well, and it's very touching, and I don't think it's as good as the first season, but I still think it's very enjoyable. And then the 3rd and 4th one, they just don't have anything to go off of, really. It's just, okay, let's put these characters in a new scenario. I talked about a little bit of Season 4 last year, because Season 4 ran through 2017 and 2018, so I guess what the second half of the season does is it has more unfunny episodes and a lot of filler, and then its closing story arc is ruining the ending of the second season. The people who watch it with me disagree with me, so maybe there's a chance you'll like season 3 and 4, but I think they're bad. I mean, I think they're really awful. I think the first 2 seasons are great. They're funny and they're interesting, and it didn't have anything left to do. The story was done being told, but they kept it going anyway. And I honestly think season 4 ruined season 2 a little bit, so I'm just gonna say season 2 is where it canonically ends.
I'm done! Do you hear me? I've lost everything!
Last year I was really generous with the 100. I think I gave it like a 9 out of 10. None of the seasons are 9 out of 10s. I don't know what I was talking about, but it's a very fun show. I think seasons 1 through 4 are very enjoyable. There is a really interesting motif about leadership and the horrible things you have to do when put in that position, even if that means, losing the respect of a lot of people you care about, but it's just always making the best decision that you can. And I found that stuff to be interesting. There's all these ridiculous speeches, and it's just a lot of fun. The action scenes are great. Whenever they have to do like heavy CGI, it looks bad because it's a CW show, but they try not to rely on that too hard. They keep the settings simple, and I think they work well with what they got. But yeah, 9 out of 10 was way too high to rate it. I would drop like every single season down to like a 7 out of 10, but I think all of them are good. I think all of them are very enjoyable. Now you have this 5th season, and this is to me the first bad season of the 100, and there's some good parts in it. I personally think the first 2 episodes are awesome, exactly what I wanted out of it, and then after that it just starts repeating all the same shit again, like Octavia and Bellamy hate each other again, and all the characters have to reunite. They say "may we meet again" like 80 fucking times, and they're repeating too much shit for me now. It's the same conflicts done in a kind of different way, and it's the exact same story of the 4th season. Like, the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season all did something different. They all had their own story to tell. And the 4th season story was the Earth is not going to be safe to live on anymore. We need a plan. And then at the end of season 4, they find that plan. And then season 5 is, okay, we're back on Earth. Oh shit, it's not going to be safe to live here anymore. We need a plan. And they just repeat the same shit, but there's just some new conflicts with different characters. And I didn't care for any of it. I thought a lot of it was really boring because I felt like I was watching the same stuff. Abby becomes a drug addict, and they throw cannibalism in there. Ooh, it almost felt like they were just going with shock value very frequently throughout the season for me. I understand why some people disagree with me on this. I mean, you have Clark and that kid, that's kind of a new thing too, but I feel like the overall story felt very much like a repeat of what they've done in the past. And Octavia going as far as she did, I know it was kind of crazy the things she did, but I mean, almost every single character has done something equally fucked up. It's just, cannibalism was the newest thing they added. I don't know. I don't know what to fucking tell you about that. That meant nothing to me. I do like the final scene, though it's kind of laughable because, they don't really make Monty a convincing old man, both with the voice and the makeup. They probably should have just gotten an older person to play him as an old man. That would have made a lot more sense. I would have taken the scene a lot more seriously then. But it's a nice sentiment. I think that was the right direction move story-wise. With it being the end of book 1, I guess that means we have book 2, and is that going to be 5 seasons long? And then is there going to be a book 3? How long are they going to keep the show on? I was ready for it to end with season 5. I thought that was the plan. But no, we got a lot of this. This is going to be like a Supernatural if we let it be. I'll watch season 6. If it's as bad as season 5, I'm going to cut it off there. I didn't like season 5, sorry.
You can see me!
I'm happy! The happy horse so full of fun, of course! It's plain to see it's fun to be happy! Here comes the fun!
Happy is fucking annoying. So originally Happy was going to be the first series that we talked about on the show, and when I was editing the video, I was getting so fucking bored. I recorded so much of my voiceover, I filmed a bunch, and it was just boring as hell because I don't have anything interesting to say about this show. It's kind of cool that they combine this animation with the live action. A lot of it's watching Nick Sachs and Happy kind of gain each other's personalities a little bit, meet halfway a little bit. Happy, super innocent. Nick Sachs is a fucked up person. But Nick Sachs learns a little bit about morality and not all people are bad and the innocent things in life. And then Happy becomes a lot more messed up. He kills someone. I kind of feel like you get exactly what you expect. The character Nick Sachs is entertaining and some of the action scenes are surprisingly well done for television. The show kind of builds itself up as being this really fucked up show and it goes really far.
I know that a lot of people think that we went way too far in our first season. Wait, do you see this one?
But really, it just does a bunch of suggested violence where instead of seeing a guy's head get blown off, you see blood splatter on the wall to suggest that it happened. But to be fair, the writers did have some balls. Breaking Bad only threatened to murder an infant.
Kill your infant daughter.
Happy just flat out put ones in the microwave. Well done. Good job. I think the CGI on Happy is done very well. Patton Oswalt's a good voice actor for Happy. I don't really care for the character, but the voice does definitely fit the model. I would call it good animation, but I wouldn't say it really blends in with the live action super well. Whenever it has to blend in with an action scene, it's kind of noticeable. I mean, it's not very well done. It's a TV show budget. What do you want them to do? They tried keeping it short to only 8 episodes so they could really focus on making each episode well done, and some of it actually does look pretty good. There's a couple action scenes I like in there. I do like the fact that it takes place during Christmas, so in so many of the fight scenes they play Christmas music. There's things to like about the show, and if the teaser looks interesting to you, I'd recommend it.
Okay, Man-Bear Pig is real. What are we gonna do about it now, huh? What are we gonna do that's gonna make any difference now, Susan?
What? Well, we have to do something.
What can we do that everyone else will also do, Susan? Come on, use your brain.
So South Park Season 22 was another mediocre season of South Park. They were really funny for a long time. I think lately with all the continuity and storytelling, it feels like they're focused on the bigger picture of the entire season rather than just making every episode its own great thing. And I get the need to change things up, but I really wish they would stop with the storytelling. To be fair, this season, it feels like they do it less. It feels more like there's just little things they're doing with the story, like the stuff with the school shootings is a thing throughout the entire season, and Randy and his farm, like his weed farm, is a thing throughout the whole season. But more or less, it does feel like they're being a lot more episodic, but I feel like they should just go 100% with it. I like the vape pen episode. I like the first episode. I really wanted to like the Man Bear Pig episode, but I didn't find really any of it to be funny. I obviously get what they're actually referencing there, and it's hilarious, but literally everything else was just Al Gore being an asshole and them making Red Dead Redemption 2 jokes, and I didn't find either of those to be funny, and it was just so repetitive. It was just really hammering in those 2 jokes over and over again. I guess they threw in more of the school shooting jokes, too. I hated it. I hated it. I wanted to love it. I heard that they did that, and I thought that, I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's so funny. And no, it sucked. I thought the Halloween episode was bad. I thought the last episode was kind of a bad way to close it off. The creators of South Park are funny people. They're almost every single episode of South Park at least has one laugh in it. And I'd say that's the same deal with this season. But it's just, it doesn't feel worth it to watch the entire season anymore. Once I finish watching a season and I reflect and I'm like, this wasn't worth the time I spent on it. But there's still something addicting about watching the show. There's still like the chance that I will get a good laugh out of it. And I normally do every episode. And it's like, I'm kind of interested in seeing what point they'll try to make. It's not a bad show yet. It's not like The Simpsons or Family Guy where it's been on so long and it just can't do anything interesting or funny anymore. It can. It just can't do it as frequently anymore. And I think that the storytelling is a big part of that. And I do like that they kind of did less of it this season, but I hope that they just eventually give us another season of no story arc at all. When it was like the fucking Lord storyline or the entire town becoming PC, I thought that stuff was funny. I thought that stuff was interesting. I even didn't mind like season 20 being this big story of Donald Trump. It wasn't great, but I got the need to do it. They did 2 seasons of continuity. Okay, let's try a whole season with just a big storyline. But now I'm tired of it, and I just want to go back to the basics of South Park. If they do that, I'll gladly watch another season. If they keep doing the continuity, I do think I'm done, but who knows? I think I said that last year too, and then I watched the new season.
What brings you all the way up here?
I could ask you the same thing, Mr.
Elwood. James Elwood.
Fallout Elwood. I'm going to do web series from now on too, actually. But they have to either have a character, a unique character, or a narrative, so no search for the worst or anything like that. So a little background on the person who makes the series, Richard Michael Alvarez. To me, he used to be one of the great artists. You have William Shakespeare, Michelangelo, Rich Alvarez. Rich Alvarez for a long time made videos I loved, both the stupid Mario Brothers series and the skits and little short films he did. Not so much the clicking noise, but we don't really talk about that one too much. But then one day Richie felt really inspired and decided from that day on he's only gonna make bad videos, and he did that for quite some time.
It's the middle of March and you know what that means!
St. Patrick's Day and
Pie Day! So we're doing a St. Patrick's Day / Pie Day dessert!
what screams American St. Patrick's Day? None other than Lucky Charm!
Fallout Elwood is kind of a return to doing something that he at least seems to care about. He brought back his stupid Mario Bros. Series after ending it on a high note, and really, it was just awful when he brought it back, and it felt like it was something that he was doing because he felt like he needed to get his audience back, or at least maintain the audience he still had. But Fallout Elwood is definitely something that seems like it has potential. The cinematography is better, the characters are more interesting, the second episode was actually kind of entertaining in my opinion. First one kind of sets up a bunch and it's a little slow, but I did like the second episode alright. It's a corny little web series, it's nothing great, but I think for what it is, I enjoyed it. But there's only 2 out so far, to be fair, and I think a 5 out of 10 is perfectly fair.
Victor, what's your type?
Huh?
Your type. Who would you want to get with?
Like, if I could marry anyone?
Yeah, sure, man. Whatever. Just say who it is.
I don't want to say.
Why not? Oh, is it something weird? Is it like somebody in your family?
No.
Is it a big doll? You could just say who it is, or I could just keep guessing. Is it your sister?
It's her!
Oh, cool. It's somebody who's in the room. That's great. We can follow up. Grace, do you like Victor?
AP Bio. It's just Dennis from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia as a teacher, but it's kind of funny.
Well, yes, I need the gun. It sends a very important subconscious cue that sets the tone for pack animals. I need to assert myself to this monkey so that he'll submit to my will and we can win the game and get the hell out of this place.
I'm so sorry, Dennis. I'm very confused.
Don't sit down!
So the newest season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was kind of a disappointment to me. I didn't really like most of the episodes. I mean, they were okay. The sexual harassment episode and the escape room episode were the 2 stronger ones, I'd say. And everything else ranged from mediocre to bad. It's not even because Dennis was only like in 60% of the season. I'm fine with that. It's just, it's getting a little stale. They've been doing the show for a long time. 13 seasons, kind of a lot. Obviously, after a while, it's going to get old. I know at one point they talked about doing It's Always Sunny movie. From a quality standpoint, I would say that making the movie and ending the show would probably be the best thing for them to do, but then again, a lot of people seem to like the new season, and I mean, I don't know, if they're enjoying it then I guess let them do their thing. But for me personally, I think that even season 12 was a lot better than this one.
Gary, defang the cookies! Not sure that's possible. I'm a very creative guy. Like, wouldn't it be cool if they had, like, laser eyes? Run! Oh my God! Think of something else!
Final Space is something that I really wanted to love. I was really excited for it. I thought the trailer was awesome. I thought it was really cool that it was this, like, YouTube animator getting his own series. I thought the animation looked cool. I thought the style looked cool. I like a lot of the characters on the show. There's just one big problem, and Pan Pizza already mentioned it in his video. I just agree with him 100%. The main character is fucking hard to listen to. He's so unbearable. He's so unlikable. He's so obnoxious. He's so irritating. It's just hard to get through the show with him. I like the side characters. I like that weird cat guy. I like the computer. I don't really like Kevin. Kevin's annoying. But I like a lot of these characters. I like that little green thing that he has. I like it. It's like there's a lot of stuff to like about the show, but the main character is just so fucking hard to listen to. If someone tells me in the comments that it gets significantly better and to finish it, I'll do it. I watched the first 3 episodes and I had to stop after that. I really could not stand him. He made the show impossible for me. But if it's like a BoJack where it gets significantly better, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. Like I said, though, I like everything about the show, but he is so bad that I can't get through it. So, if he's not one of the things that improves, that'll be hard.